Welcome to Be Who They Come To, where healing meets humor and spirit meets story. Oriana and Kelly are two friends who've stumbled, laughed, cried, and somehow found their way back to source. This podcast is a space to share the messy, magical journey of recovery, healing, and rediscovering themselves, and ideally, helping you do the same, with plenty of laughter along the way, because sometimes the best medicine really is a mix of soul work and a good sense of humor. And now, Be Who They Come To.
Welcome to our second episode of Be Who They Come To. Oriana and I collaborated on this title because it's something that is very important and near and dear to our hearts. It's when there is no hope, there is still hope. September is Suicide Prevention Month, and we thought that that title was quite fitting.
Was fitting.
Heyo, how you doing?
Hey, Kel. I'm good. How are you?
Oh, living the dream.
I think it is fitting because when people are at the end of their rope, so to speak, there's still always light at the end of the tunnel, and we want to make sure that this is addressed properly because it's something that, like you said, is very important to both of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think this is a serious topic because it ends in death.
It does. It's like you said before too. If it's untreated, it can be deadly, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of people who are attempting suicide don't see a way out.
No, I don't think at that moment, and I've even seen people when they've decided to make that decision, to make that commitment, shall we say, they're actually happy.
What do you mean? In what sense?
So there's a couple of times where, people will seem happier.
Like elated?
And because they've already kind of planned it,
Right.
or like sometimes
That makes sense.
suicide is not, an impulsive decision. Like sometimes people
Sometimes
put
it's thought out.
much thought into,
Yep.
they've fixed their financial affairs,
They've given belongings away.
so suicide is not, it's not only for the quote unquote depressed people who
Yeah.
seem to be okay or actually happy, and that, their life perceives to be happy. There's risk.
Yeah,
with
always. Well,
mental
look at
health.
Robin Williams, for example.
Hmm.
Right? There's a prime example, like made everybody happy, laughed, smiles all the time. And sometimes it's the least suspecting people who are in the biggest
Right.
trouble, right? There
Yeah.
might be very little signs. Sometimes there's, you can see the depression, you can see the anxiety, and it's evident that somebody's kind of at their wit's end. But sometimes it's not something you can spot.
That's right.
Yeah, like just some numbers for you guys too. There, on average in Canada, there's about 12 people that die by suicide every day. So that comes to about 4,500 per year. Those numbers are staggering. Those numbers are staggering. And it's the second leading cause of death among youth and young adults.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think, yeah, and that is just way too high. Like, I mean, one death is too high, but for it to be quote unquote preventable, because that's what they call it, suicide prevention.
Exactly.
Then why is that
Why is the number so high? Exactly.
Where's the gap in
exactly
in the and I'm not only blaming the medical field, but those statistics are too high.
Well, I just think too, like we're 2025 now, and people are still going around and debating, well, that person didn't look depressed. And, there's no test, man. There's no
No.
test. There's no way to actually spot it unless somebody is already in over their head with, in the
Yeah.
thick of a depression. Then it becomes visible, but there's no broken leg. There's no cast to see. There's
No.
no, it's probably no different than heart disease, for example. You don't see it.
Right. That's right.
You don't see it. And, people and diabetics, people with heart disease, they'll take medication for their
Mm-hmm.
condition. But,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to mental health, there's a huge stigma too around medication, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's still, even with medication, people who are depressed, they will sometimes choose to overdose on their meds.
Mm-hmm.
Like to them, it's a way out as well, if there isn't proper treatment in place.
And really what it comes down to is there's not just one sign.
No.
And some people who do it may have an undiagnosed mental illness. Maybe it's just a
Yeah.
new thing. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we've had a couple of incidences here in Ottawa where youth have taken their own lives because of bullying, and they weren't
Oh
able
yeah,
to
that's
tell their
huge now.
parents, and their parents
Yeah.
thought that they were going to school and everything was great. And
Yeah.
there was a boy, I think it was a year or two, God bless his parents, but he went into the woods,
Yeah.
because of
Yeah.
bullying and just
No,
struggling
it's
with,
it's it's wild right now. Yeah,
yeah,
it's wild. Yeah,
yeah,
the bullying in general, like when we were growing up, was big, right? But it was very
mm-hmm,
evident. It's like, "Oh, look at your
mm-hmm,
stupid hair. Ha ha ha." And the girls would all point, and
mm-hmm,
that's something that's obvious. A teacher can intervene or whatever, right? But
mm-hmm,
nowadays it's so insidious. And there's
mm-hmm,
actually that Netflix movie that just came out where it turns out that it was a mother that
mm-hmm,
was doing the cyberbullying.
yeah,
Like it's crazy to me. I people don't understand the severity of it
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
and what it can lead to. Just your words are powerful.
yeah,
Your words are powerful and they shouldn't be used to hurt people. But
yeah.
people do it intentionally. People intentionally hurt others, and it's sad.
Well, hurt people hurt people.
So yeah, there's that saying, but then you know what? I heard another one too is actually hurt
Mm.
people sometimes heal people,
Yeah. And that's fair. Well, hence why you and I are
right?
here doing this podcast. But,
Precisely.
and it's hard when you're in that moment to be like, well, that person's hurting and that, they're going through their own stuff and they're taking it out on me or whatever that may be.
Mhm.
And it's hard to see that, but it's more of a kind of help, you know, when people are usually, taking things out on other people, it's because they have their own
Their own
shit they got to
demons.
deal with.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's how it
That doesn't
works.
excuse their behavior by any means.
No, but
But I
it takes a minute, like you said, you gotta step back and be like, "Okay, wait a minute, that wasn't something that I should absorb."
mhm,
Actually, if you, um we learned this at, well, I did because you didn't attend, but at church on Sunday, where
mhm,
if somebody is coming at you with something nasty and you feel in your solar plexus, so for those of you who don't know what your solar plexus is, it's that spot kind of under your chest where your rib cage meets, kind of at the top of your stomach. Um, and it's your solar plexus chakra. And when you're insulted or somebody comes at you with something that is not true and it's an insult of some kind, that's generally where you will feel it. And what that means is it's actually your spirit rejecting that information. And it's like, that's not mine. That's not mine. That's not mine. And so that was really interesting to learn from Reverend Sandy on Sunday. Uh,
nice.
yeah, so it was pretty cool. I didn't even get to share that with you yet, but
No,
no, that was a really cool piece of information, and I didn't know that. So that's something I'm going to pay attention to now. Like, where am I feeling these things in my body? I think when we've discussed it before too, you internalize and internalize and internalize, and you get sick, right?
and I think when people get sad or overwhelmed or any type of feeling that they feel uncomfortable with, it's okay.
Yeah.
Really, and if you have to reach out to a hotline, a friend, a cousin, a neighbor,
Yep.
uh, feeling discomfort is okay.
Yep.
And
It's
usually
normal.
what I've learned too is a lot of the times when you're feeling anxious and filled with uncertainty and being like, I don't see the
A
end of
way out.
this.
Yep.
Um, there is always a solution,
Always.
you know,
Always.
and sometimes that solution is just sitting there crying
Mhm.
and eating a bag of Skittles. And I'm
That's
not
it.
trying to undermine it, but like we think it's so big because it's so big in our mind and our heart.
Mhm.
And you know, sometimes if you just sit in it, it dissipates a little bit.
It passes. It'll pass, exactly.
Yeah.
And because
Yeah.
you're not in your right mind,
Hmm.
you're not in
And
your right
that's fair
mind.
to say.
Yeah.
That's
And
absolutely
people think it's really selfish, and there's still so much
mhm,
stigma around it, and I was thinking about that, but you know what? Maybe they're a little bit right about that. It is selfish, but it's what that person is going through. That's personal. They are in so deep
mhm,
and they're so sick that they feel that that's their last resort. Like that's the only conclusion that they can come to for their problems. And so, yeah, in a way, it is selfish, but selfish doesn't have to be a bad word. People
mhm,
associate it with like, it's all about me. But there's good selfishness and there's bad selfishness. I'm not calling this good selfishness, but
mhm.
in a way it is selfish because but at the same time, there's people who are contemplating suicide who feel that those around them are better off, right?
Exactly.
I'm a burden,
Exactly. Yep.
or like they'll be better off without me, and that's a horrible cross to bear, you know,
Hmm.
those kinds of feelings.
And also to trying to help somebody who may be at risk of suicide.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel like, oh my gosh, what if I say something wrong? What if I make it worse? What if, and as I think, as long as you come from a kind, patient perspective, you don't have to have all the special
No.
words or the
Mm.
education. It's just sometimes somebody just needs you to sit with them for a minute
And
in their pain
that's
because it's so unbearable. And
Yep.
they feel like they have to carry that burden by themselves.
Yep. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's true, and sometimes people aren't able to reach out, but I've gotten phone calls from people where they're like, I'm at the pharmacy, I'm about to buy a bottle of pills and go home
Hmm.
and do this.
Hmm.
And I've managed to talk them down.
Hmm.
I had another friend who, I had to practically barge through the door and just go sit in bed with her for
Hmm.
hours. Like it just and I think as long, like you said, as you're coming from a place of kindness, like
Hmm.
you have to at least try. Like you might not get it right, but you have to try. We can't help everybody and we can't save
No,
people. Like
no.
there's other kinds of help for that, like medical professionals or whatever. And we are not
Hmm.
by any means claiming that we have all the answers for this, but it's near and dear to our hearts for a reason. And I think that it's something I'm always going to be passionate about.
Hmm. Well,
Um,
yeah, and then in my profession, suicide was also, when people were actually attempting their life, but sometimes we interpret suicide like people that may be drinking themselves to death or
yeah, on
drugging
purpose.
themselves to death or, so really, I mean, what is suicide? Is it
Yeah, at the
somebody
end
who
of the day.
just takes their life or is it somebody that is slowly killing themselves? Like, is it just
Yep.
that, or, and then that's maybe too, taking a look at that and being like, this person is really going down a destructive path.
Yep.
And
Yep.
how can I help them through that?
And that's
And
the thing too with
do they want the help, right?
Yeah. Well, that's like, I mean, you're a trauma and addictions worker,
Hmm.
and there's addicts who overdose all the time,
Yeah.
and sometimes they can get to a hospital fast enough, and sometimes they don't.
Well, not everybody has Narcan.
Well, that's it, right? You
So
know?
So that's something that it's, and like even MAID, right here in Canada, we have
Hmm.
MAID, where the assisted suicide program. And I don't know enough about the program to really voice my opinion about it, but there's also
Hmm.
that too. So we also have a government that's saying, yeah, you can
Take your
kill
life.
yourself.
Yep.
You just need to meet the criteria.
That's it.
And which makes me worried is that some people with mental illness meet the criteria,
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
So,
Yep. Yep.
like, what are we telling people here? Oh, you have a mental illness, you're going to be a burden on the system. It's really, I mean, I've seen made work for people that do have a terminal illness that is ravaging their body, and
Yes,
they've made that choice. But where do we draw the line, right?
that's
So
true.
it's very controversial, but when you have your government allowing people to do that, I mean, people also do need to die with dignity. And in that,
Yes, I can appreciate that as well. 100%.
but the maid, when I found out that mental health issues were kind of put into that, I was like, oh wow. Oh
Oh, I
wow.
didn't even realize they were lumped into that actually.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
there's a very specific criteria, but it's like, oh, I think they have to have kind of multiple, like I said, I don't know too much about it,
Right, right.
but what I do know of it, it's alarming. But
Yeah,
so
yeah. And there's like, men are 3 times more likely actually to die by suicide.
yeah, I've
Um,
seen that in my profession. I
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I
And
have.
it's there's women make more attempts, but
Mhm.
men are more successful.
And I think that I mean, there's a combination of things, but really I think here in our city there tends to be a lot more resources for women. Um
That's true.
and
Than there are for men.
and men kind of lack the resources
Yeah.
here. That's just in my professional. I've seen it, you know,
Yeah.
even trying to house people. There's like 25 women's shelters and maybe 3 men's shelters here. So we gotta
Yeah, so
take a
you're
look at
you're
that too.
familiar with all that, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I am.
and that's the sad part too, is a lot of addicts and homeless people are suffering from mental illness.
They absolutely
It's
are.
not necessarily poor decisions that got them there. You know, I watched a documentary actually on homelessness, and
Hmm.
there was this one. I can't remember if it was a woman or a man, but they said, it doesn't happen overnight.
Hmm.
Sometimes it starts with you can't pay your rent,
Yeah.
and then it's you're riding your friend's couch for a while.
Hmm.
Then you kind of outstay your welcome, and then where do you go? A shelter. Maybe there's no room in the shelter. Then you're tenting it
Hmm.
outside, right?
And I think some people like to live out there. It's their freedom. They just,
Yeah,
so what do, it's such a vast thing, because who am I to tell somebody about their quality of life being like,
yeah,
no, you shouldn't live on the streets, and some of them feel safer out there. Maybe their homes weren't safe. Like,
yeah,
it's
yep,
such a layered topic.
yep. No, I agree. I mean,
Uh,
suicide in general is a layered topic, right? And mental health. It's why you and I wanted to touch on it a lot in this podcast.
mhm,
Just given our experiences of loved ones around us,
mhm,
and just society in general.
mhm,
Right? You see the prevalence of this, and there's modern medicine, and then
mhm.
there's unconventional things too, like
Yeah.
your spirituality, for example, right?
Mhm,
Can play a huge role in recovery. And
mhm,
that's something that's important to both you and I as well. We've touched on that too. And when it comes to, like you said too, like, you can't say the wrong thing, or maybe you can say the wrong thing, but you should at least try, right? When somebody's in that position. But and it's a subject I've wanted to touch on too, and some people call it spiritual bypassing, toxic optimism, or toxic
mhm,
positivity. And when somebody is in the thick of something,
mhm,
and say, well, you should just pray,
Mhm.
or God will help you,
Right.
or it's going to get better. Don't worry about it. You cannot come at somebody that fast with those kinds of phrases.
But you're putting the responsibility solely on them,
Exactly.
right? You need to talk to God. Well, what if they don't like God?
Right? What if it's not their jam,
And God's not going to put serotonin and dopamine and like
Right?
spirituality can help you through it.
Yes.
But it's really just checking in with your friend or coworker or whatever, not overstepping, but being like, are you okay?
Yeah, that's it. And I don't think people ask that enough. And I think too, when people are asked, hey, how are you? People don't want to get into a lengthy discussion about how
Yeah.
they're really doing.
Yeah.
Why? Because they don't want to burden that person with their
Mhm.
problems.
Or
So I
they're
think
afraid.
too, yeah, yeah,
Fear.
yeah.
Fear, I think, is a big one. And, uh, that hold people in that. Or sometimes I think when you're struggling with mental health, sometimes you don't even understand it. You're like,
Mhm.
why am I waking up and I'm feeling like crap? I'm going to bed early, I'm eating well, I'm running, and you're still
Well,
not.
there's high functioning anxiety and depression too.
Mhm,
You
mhm,
can be going to work, doing your parenting duties.
mhm.
Everything appears fine, but you have like this, your lust for life is gone. You've
Yep.
flatlined, right? You have
Mhm,
no interest in anything. You don't want to see people,
mhm.
but you're able to do the bare minimum, and
Right.
people see a functioning person and they're like, well, you don't look very depressed. Or
Mhm.
but like, what does depression look like? What does anxiety look like? You
Right.
know, like
It's different
it's
for everyone.
well, you can be depressed and can't get off the couch, but anxious at the same time.
Yeah, I have high functioning anxiety. I'm
Yeah. I used to have
it's
high functioning anxiety. Now mine is
mm,
more like debilitating if it's really bad.
right.
It's more like it takes me out at the knees and, I'm overwhelmed with
Mhm.
things. But mine used to be high functioning. I used to be go,
Well,
go,
look
go, go,
at
go.
a couple of months ago where I was having a complete like panic attack. I'm like, I need to go into work. I need to go into work. And then like I'm
Of all
talking to you and I'm like, what's going
Yeah, yeah, of all the things to do right now, Kelly, you wanna go to work?
like
Okay.
I need to go. I need to
We'll
go.
we'll talk on your Uber ride,
Yeah,
like
exactly. It's
but everyone handles it differently, right? People will
I
throw
was not
themselves.
even expecting that for
Yeah,
myself.
but it's not even that you wanted to throw yourself into work per se. You needed to move, you needed to get out of the house, you needed
Yeah.
to do something else. But there's people who throw themselves into work and
Yep.
don't address
That
the
was a
problem.
biggie. Yeah,
They
I
don't
did that
address
a
the
long time
problem.
ago.
Yeah, and,
And the mountain gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then all of a sudden, your life is like, you're just like, what the hell happened?
yeah,
Because you're not present. You're just
that's
trying to
right,
escape the life. You're
that's
not,
right. Before you
and
created this tornado around you, that's
or
is
you've allowed other people to as well.
yep, yep,
Yeah. Yeah.
true, true, because the more you and I think too, a lot of people who maybe have, like, high functioning anxiety, for example, are people pleasers.
Oh, they absolutely are. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They want everyone to think everything's great, like, I can't let people see that, I'm struggling and,
Hmm.
you say yes to this person, yes to this person, yes to this person, and then you're resentful because people have
Absolutely.
certain expectations of you,
Hmm.
and, it's and you kinda do it to yourself, maybe,
Oh, of
unknowingly or,
course. Mhm.
but, you kinda that resentment stems from your own actions too, and you do have to own that.
Hmm.
We have to own our behavior. A lot of people struggle with that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think suicide, there's some part of it where the person feels trapped and that they
Oh,
can't get out
100%.
of it. And so their only way out is like out.
That's it. Check out.
And yeah,
To
it's a
check out.
sad thing. And I mean, we can sit here and give all sorts of tools and be like, well, check in and call and if this person and but yeah, check in on people.
Yeah.
And they may not tell you, but I'm telling you, if you check in, you could have saved somebody's life.
Well, and it's
They
too,
don't
like I
know.
said, those high functioning people,
Yeah.
right? They might be go, 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 and everything looks okay. And sometimes
Hmm.
it's okay to be like, "Are you sure everything's all right? You seem really busy all the time." And, like,
Hmm.
did you want to chill and have a
Preoccupied.
coffee?
Hmm.
Yeah, like it doesn't hurt to check in on people that you think are okay too. I
Hmm.
get a lot of messages, "Hey,
Yes.
just checking in. Haven't
Yeah.
talked to that person in a couple months." Just, "Hey, just checking in."
Yeah, absolutely.
I
I
love
think
those
that's what
messages.
it comes to. Yeah, and a phone call can save a life. And
100%.
if you haven't seen a friend or a coworker or a neighbor, I'm not encouraging, to call the police all the time, but wellness checks don't hurt either. Because
No,
I
that's
know
it.
in my profession, a lot of wellness checks ended up not having a happy ending. So let's not wait
Well,
to
that's
make
it.
that call.
That's it. No, I agree
Yeah.
100%. And it's like you said too, sometimes it's thought out and sometimes it's very impulsive. And it's the impulsive ones that you have to be careful
Hmm.
for too, right? I mean,
Hmm.
both, but
Yes.
the impulsivity is often just things build
Hmm.
and build and build, and you can only handle so much. And then you
Hmm.
have a breaking point. And it's like you
Hmm.
said too, you don't see that light at the end of the tunnel.
Yep.
You just don't. And but it's like the title of the episode, when there's no hope, there's still hope.
And I don't want to say that in an undermining way,
No,
and
no.
because that's why we were so careful with our title.
Yep.
Um, but I think what people don't realize is that, maybe stepping out of that 5-second minute or whatever, yeah, there is hope.
I think so too, always.
Yeah.
There's been plenty of times in my life where I have felt very little hope,
Hmm.
but you come out of it, you know? You come out of it.
What I'm learning, a lot of emotional stuff in that moment, I'm not saying that it's temporary. That
Yeah,
moment of disparity and loss, and that can be a temporary thing. It just requires work.
it does.
And
And
yeah.
sometimes you yourself can't solve the problem
Hmm.
necessarily. Like
That's right.
there's times too where I've been absolutely devastated about something and you and I are on the phone and I'm like, I don't know how to deal with this right now.
Hmm.
I can't process what's happening to
Right.
me right now.
Right.
And you are more often than not my rock, and it's just like you're able to say, okay, like start with this, like
Right.
let's break it down. Let's break it down. And but not everybody has that kind of person too. I think we're lucky and kind of coming back to the type of friendship that we have. It's
Hmm.
I think we're pretty blessed.
Yeah. And I hope with this podcast, it's encouraging people to start connecting with one another because we're all so
Mhm.
disconnected.
Yep, exactly.
Um, and let's stick together with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, and two, I think both you and I, through our spirituality, it's also very therapeutic. It's very cathartic.
Hmm.
This podcast too is very
Oh,
therapeutic for us
absolutely.
too. Um, just a creative outlet, somewhere to kind of dump everything, um, and
Well,
hopefully help
I've
others.
noticed with just doing that first podcast and then kind of sitting in it for a minute, it's opened up some uh wounds that I thought maybe were healed. So I'm revisiting them.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so this is a healing experience, and I think I'm able to look at them from a different perspective from when they may have happened.
Yep.
So I know this even just through one episode. I'm not
Yeah, well, that's
um
healing isn't linear, right?
no.
It's a merry-go-round, it's a loop to loop, it's a zigzag,
Hmm.
10 steps forward, 5 back, and you're gonna be
Right.
triggered, but that's the point of growth, is these
Right.
triggers. It's how you grow, And it's,
Mm-hmm.
childhood wounds or whatever those
Mm-hmm.
look like, when somebody's sticking their finger in that wound or, salting the wound.
Mm-hmm.
It's our job and our responsibility to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can have people that trigger you up the wazoo,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to realize, okay, like check yourself. Like what is it about this person that's really getting to me?
Mm-hmm.
What are they doing? What's bothering me about this? And I know for
And
myself,
sometimes that can be like sometimes when you don't know somebody very well and they're just like getting on your last nerve or whatever, it could be something you don't like about yourself
oh,
as well.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Or, it could remind you of different things, but
Well, that's and
it's
traumas, right? That's where traumas come
mhm,
from. You have had a trauma around something, and then you have something that comes along in your life that just really reminds you, and you have to remove yourself.
mhm,
You can't. You have to step back and be like, "Whoa, I cannot do this right now. It's triggering something in me, and I
mhm.
have to. I have to step away."
Right. And I think going back to the temporary part,
Yep.
there's things that can be fixed, and I'm not undermining what is going through.
Hmm.
But there is light at the end of the tunnel, and sometimes we always fear the unknown. I know I do that because I have anxiety, and we
Hmm.
always think it's going to be worse.
Yeah, we often,
I
we
always
create these
we
scenarios.
prepare ourselves for the worst, but sometimes life can be so much better.
It can.
It really can be. And
It
so
does get better.
that's
It does get better, and
hmm
sometimes it's worse, but I'd you know, I'd say we're 10 for 10 for getting out of things,
hmm
you and I, considering, like, it's I don't know about you, but so far I've come out of everything. So,
yeah.
that's my
Knock on wood.
intention, right?
Knock on wood. Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
Yeah, that's my intention moving forward in life too, is to just come out of things, and to come out of it a better person and
Mhm,
with, some growth under my belt.
mhm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, it's getting through it.
yeah.
And but sitting and allowing that pain and all of that,
Oh, you
because
have to sit in
pushing
it.
it away is
It doesn't
probably
work.
not going to help either, but
You
don't
have
sit
to
in it too
sit in it.
long.
You have to sit in it. And
Mm,
that's where the concern lies too. Like I know I cocoon, for example.
mhm,
I will recluse, I stay away from people.
mhm,
And but I've told you before too. I'm like, Kelly, don't let me do this too long.
mhm.
Watch out
Yeah.
for me. Don't let me do this too long because this has the potential to turn into something bad.
I think overall people who disconnect or isolate like we both do,
Hmm.
um, it's it's checking ourselves too and being like,
Yeah.
okay, I haven't left the house in 4 days.
Hmm.
What am I gonna do? And if it's even just going to check the mail or
That's
taking
it.
the garbage out or
Yeah.
going to sit on the back porch and watching some birds,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
um,
Yeah.
it's stepping out of that moment.
Yeah. Because you get so
Um,
stuck in your head. You
mhm,
get so stuck in your head. And I know for me, putting my phone down
mhm,
often helps, just like
mhm,
doom scrolling. Like there's times where, in the evening it's fine. I'm good with it.
mhm,
I'll scroll for a while. But there's times where it actually causes me anxiety and I feel a
mhm,
buildup and I have to put my phone down and just sit in
mhm.
reality for a second,
Yeah.
just be. And I don't think people realize too how much social media, like how stimulating our phones are or
Mhm.
computers or whatever that is. It can kind of take over a little bit. Um,
Well,
you know,
social media, I mean, it might sound a little bit whatever, but a lot of people too, when they kind of escape into social
yeah,
media,
yeah,
that can be a really dangerous thing too, because like even for me as, a woman, you see these women that are working they have a beautiful house and it's clean and they got all their shit together and they're going to the gym in heels and like all these kind of
yeah,
really outlandish standards.
yeah,
And you're
yeah,
like, I can barely put my
yeah,
shoes on
yeah,
sometimes. And I'm comparing myself to these absolutely unrealistic expectations because I saw it in a commercial or, I
Yeah.
saw it somewhere and I'm just like putting all this pressure on myself to
Yeah,
live up to
exactly.
somebody else's standards.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
so we have to be careful with the social media because it can really send
We
people
size ourselves
over.
up. Yeah, we size ourselves up. And, it's like, well, they have, beautiful dark hair and,
Mm,
I'm blonde and it's, I don't have like for me, for example, I tend to look at, uh, you know, my body issues, for example, like body
mm-hmm,
dysmorphia or whatever you want to call it.
mm-hmm,
But I look at it from the perspective of the gym. I don't look at like a curvy girl and whatever. For me, it's like, well, her arms are bigger than mine,
mm-hmm,
or she's more toned than I am. So for
mm-hmm.
me, that's an issue. I compare
Right.
myself in that way and I struggle with letting that go, you know.
Mm-hmm,
I'm better at it now. I'm better at it now.
mm-hmm.
But I feel like there's always room for improvement.
Of course.
But again, it's the societal expectations, right? That you're talking about.
Yeah, set your own realistic goals.
Well, that's it. That's it.
And
Just be better than yesterday.
that's where you're gonna find like with myself is when I set realistic expectations or goals. I'm doing them for me or my family or my extended family or
Mhm.
and so that kind of relieves some of the pressure because some people they just feel so much pressure like where you
Yep.
see people who have lost their job and they go and you know commit suicide because they feel like a failure,
Yep. Yeah.
and so there's just so much with
Yeah.
this topic, and I'm glad we do have a month where it brings it to the surface,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we really like to talk about it, and
Mhm.
but really what I wanted to kind of bring today is stay connected with people
Yeah.
because we don't know.
No,
We
exactly.
we don't know.
Exactly. And there's been times where I've reached out to others, whether it's a friend of a friend or family member, where I've said, you know what, they're not doing too great. Check in on
Mm-hmm.
them. Maybe go spend
Mm-hmm.
some time with them. And sometimes that person will get mad.
Oh yes.
Like,
Yes.
how
Yeah.
dare you go telling people blah blah blah. And it comes, I think, from a place of deep love. And
Mm-hmm.
it's but it's hard for that other person to see that. Right? It's like
Well,
you
yeah,
you
because
meant
they're
well, but they think
mm-hmm.
because you're divulging, information
Mm-hmm.
or things that they would have rather have kept to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes from a place of caring, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes when you're in the thick of things, it's hard to see the silver
Yeah.
lining
Yeah, exactly.
of why things are done. But that's why, as long as the intention, I think, is okay, you know,
Agreed.
like sometimes when somebody's choking and you do the Heimlich maneuver or whatever that thing's called, or you do CPR, you may crack a rib or two, but you saved a life. So the
Right?
intent
Exactly.
was good. It
Right?
just you
Intent was
got
good.
some broken ribs.
That's it. That's it, right? I think
Oh,
those heal. Those heal. When you're dead, you don't heal, you
no,
know?
no, and there's just
There's no going back. And it's to like, for example, the number one place in the world where people die by suicide is the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. And people who have survived that fall have said the minute my legs left the bridge, I
hmm
regretted it. Because it just
yeah.
apparently the pain is so excruciating when you hit that water. Um, and that's the problem is there's these moments in time where you feel that there's no way out, and then you make that mistake of attempting your life. And sometimes you survive it,
hmm
sometimes you're successful and you don't. And, uh, but from what a lot of people experience, they'll often regret an attempt at,
hmm
an attempt at their life. Um, the Golden Gate Bridge. That's on my bucket list, actually. It's somewhere where I actually love to visit. And for many people, maybe it is, but mine is for that reason, because it's the number one place in the world where people commit suicide. And actually there's been people now, they're actually, it should be either last year or this year, should be complete. They're trying to complete a net system to catch anybody who wants to jump.
Yeah, and it's heartbreaking. I mean, we have bridges all over the place here in Ottawa,
Right.
and all over the place. And I mean, I think people will do it like regardless. I
Yep.
think that's great though, because that'll, mitigate from it happening there.
Exactly.
I think maybe what people do too is maybe in that minute is that they realize they're worth something.
Yep.
And I would really like people to leave today from this podcast past. You are worth it. You
Oh,
matter.
absolutely. Yep.
You matter. You're worth
Mm-hmm.
it. And even though you don't feel like it, and maybe the dumbass people around you don't see your worth, that doesn't mean that you are not worth it. You
That's
are
right.
absolutely worth it. You are here on this planet,
Yep.
and you mean something. So,
And it might not mean that you mean something to everybody,
and
but
that's okay.
right? I'm in the same place too. If you don't like me, line up with the rest of them. That's fine. You want to believe crap about me, that's fine. Go ahead. You want to talk shit about me, go ahead. That's fine too.
There's that saying, I swear I'm gonna get it tattooed on me or something. Don't find your value. What is it? Oh, I should have wrote it down. It was so good. Don't decrease your value with somebody's inability to see your worth.
Yeah, no, that's
Or
a good
something
one.
like that. Before I get it tattooed, I probably should read the quote, right? But
Yeah. Look it up again. There's probably a meme somewhere, right? Like,
but it is absolutely, and if you have to prove yourself to somebody,
yeah,
change your company.
that's it.
Because when you're with the right
True.
people, you don't
That's true.
have to prove your self-worth to nobody because you are somebody.
It's true. It's
So-
true. And if you're doing all this legwork and, trying to do all these good things and somebody still doesn't see it, like you said, it's that person's got to go. They've got to go.
They're just
And,
not your people.
well, that's it.
Yeah.
They're not your people.
It's
Yeah,
anyway, it's been a beautiful conversation
I agree.
today.
I hope that there was some takeaways for people. In case anybody actually is curious, the hotline for suicide crisis line is, you can call or text it. It's 988.
Perfect.
Should anybody feel inclined to reach out in that sense, or know of somebody who might need to reach out. So it's just 988. It's very simple. We have 911, 988, I think, is just as important. And there's people on the other line who will walk you through things, the way you walk me through things. So, dude, it's why we fell in love, man. Like,
yes, yep, I guess
why
so.
we fell in love. We're like, I will walk you through that fucking nonsense if you walk me through my fucking nonsense.
We will walk together.
Right? That's it. Hey, we're all just walking each other home, man.
You know what? And that's a beautiful thing. And we're gonna leave that at that. And hopefully we'll see everybody at our next episode.
Our next episode, number 3. It'll be coming out soon, guys. We're also we'll be airing on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. on Blast the Radio, btr.com on the app or on your desktop. So 8 p.m. on Wednesdays. And our dear friend John has graciously helped us out with everything that we're doing, actually. He's been a superstar for us, and I don't know where we would be without him. So
we'd probably still be trying to hook up mics and upload and something, or mic hanging from the ceiling. So
right.
A big shout
or just
out
like
to
holding
John.
it like a singer the whole time, like, yeah.
No, thank you so much, John.
Yeah. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We hope that you'll stay with us on this journey.
Yep.
Peace out.
All right. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Bye.